Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to what is going to be the last match of opening week of part 2 between Simplicity and LFM. We are tied up 2-2 after what I'm going to leave as some of the most dramatic escapes, adventures, quests to get a kill that we have ever seen in competitive Heroes of the Storm. And this is going to be the conclusion. I'm gonna throw it out. What do you think for Game 5? Who is going to take this now? Because at this point, it's a flat coin toss.
It is. And I think right now, if we're talking about quests and adventures, we need to start putting question marks around, because that's where you go on your quest and adventures, and you just find the first person to the question mark. Likely should be the core. I think Towers of Doom might be available. You probably don't want to walk there. That's a scary adventure. Lily's actually staring at me over your shoulder right now.
That's a little creepy.
I'm so scared.
Game 5, figuring out where we're going to be headed here. It's Towers of Doom for Game 5, selected by Simplicity. After that last victory, LFM going to go with that first pick select. One of the most played maps that we have in the world right now, the most played map in the world.
Well, I mean, I think when you look back, this was actually the battleground that was banned against Simplicity when LFM played against them before. So respecting that Simplicity has done well in this battleground, even when they haven't won, they fought well, and that's something that they do. And this is a battleground, I think, with that map choice, definitely favors Simplicity if you look at how the maps have played out for the early part of this year.
I very much agree. And, before we get into this Game 5, I want to bring it back to what we were talking about before this series even started. The relevance of what this means in terms of staying out of that Crucible range. Because the bottom 2 teams of the standings of part number 2 are going to have to compete for their HGC lives, essentially, at some point. And because both these teams sit at both 6th and 8th, Simplicity at the 6th slot with only 1 victory over that of LFM. If LFM manages to win this, this is going to be a huge step. I think they deemed in the interview as a must-win. And somehow Simplicity is held on after that last game all the way to push us to here, game number 5. We'll figure it out through the draft. The first thing we got to be asking ourselves is there any way Medivh makes it through the draft now? Because that was a big question mark we had before. And then also, does Simplicity risk the Maev? Because at this point, we're pretty confident that they are not going to be able to pick it up for themselves. And do you want that to be left over to LFM? We'll find out. Medivh taken off the table.
Medivh, will we see the other M hero? If not, I mean, what else could it be? We've seen LFM go into the first Picterial. Yeah. When Malf was banned before, they went first Picterial. See if they'll go Tyrael this time, or will they Malfurion?
Malfurion's there. Response on the side of Simplicity. What are we going to see out from them? I don't remember. What was the trade-off with the Malfurion? I lost my paperwork. Sorry. Stukov, Garrosh is the response. Stukov expected. Garrosh, I feel like kind of expected there that he's risen in priority for this series in particular. Not surprised to see that picked up. Then we can assume the Tyrael, I believe, here.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be upset if they ended up going for an early Genji this time around. It's been one of Drated's better heroes. Stukov, I think, is a little bit susceptible to the flank
Tracer.
Style. Ooh.
I like the Tracer even over the Genji, I think, in this case. Just because it's difficult for Stukov as the support to get the healing to be able to make up for that. You have the Tyrael pairing with the Malfurion. Tracer still yet to get nerfed, and then also having the opportunity to move into the Quantum Spike to deal percentile damage to Garrosh, trying to get some of that armor.
I mean, she's around. She just wants to, forgot about Trey. Sir.
My grin right now is a little bit bigger than I'd like it to be after a comment like that. LFM. Or excuse me, Simplicity. What are we going to see them rid of at this point in time? You'd consider maybe that offlaner Malthael is the first thing that stands out whenever you got the Garrosh on your side. If you're not going to do that, you're worried about Blaze. I think that would be the ban out for them. But, Blaze is something that could work pretty well with them in their composition right now. If not, the ban out the Blaze, I expected to Haka at some point. Or Tychus, that's a good one as well.
Ooh,
not.
That's some respect right there.
Yeah. Huh. That to me says that they're going to go into a Genji, honestly. Maybe not. But the reason why I was talking about why I think that kind of indicates to the Genji is just, number one, have something kind of lethal to provide a lot of threat onto the backline of LFM, but more importantly, Ancient Spear, even though the Poison Spear got nerfed at 7, when you hit Wrath onto anybody and you commit to, especially the Genji, stopping the deflect and getting that poison damage after, it chunks. It's like 50% still under the current meta. It used to be near 80%, especially into Tracer. But otherwise, it's a good pickup for Simplicity, right? So that's why that ban kind of stands out for me. Well, I was going to say, wait a minute.
They both have good defensive options against a Tracer. Tychus because he can survive a little better. Greymane because he has the extra range at level 7. Does well to auto attack, and then obviously pretty decent health pool, has the armor when he moves into Worgen form, and can also blow up the Tracer. And if you get the taunt onto Tracer, you've got to have some big damage. Greymane does that. Tychus is a little bit slower.
It's one of those moments where the bigger they are, it's like, you know, it doesn't really help that much into a Tracer.
Well, I really wonder if we might just see them bust out a Hanzo Tassadar. It's been a while.
I wouldn't mind it.
But this is one of those situations where I'm okay with it. Hanzo does really well auto-attacking against Tracer.
Okay.
Tassadar gives you that added layer of protection. Can dimensional shift if he gets pulse bombed. But outside of that, you do have to start looking at the likes of a Tychus. Maybe a Cassia, although Cassia a little bit more susceptible to the dive.
There she is. And the Blaze. Not going to commit to that Genji after that Sonya ban. Interesting. Just pure respect there from beginning to end.
I mean, this is a situation, although, you know, you're likely giving up a lot in terms of the blinds. I'd say Li Ming or Tychus has got to be it. And they go Li Ming, and we're getting the infamous swabs to Haka.
One of the more, I feel like, you know, kind of acceptable cases. Oh, my double support.
That will be a Zuna Uther.
Okay.
He's played 3 games, 1-1. And I believe this is a battleground where they run it before. And that will give you a lot of protection towards the pulse bomb now. But do you have the damage?
They have no tri-lane at all. When you normally see a double support, one of the biggest reasons why this became meta is because the front wall pressure that you're able to apply in the earlier stages of the game and the experience that gives you is generally enough to kind of snowball it out of control. The trade-off was not too big in the macro sense to make up for it because the tri-lane was that good, and team fighting a double support has always been outstanding relative to, you know, any other double meta or double anything composition in all of competitive heroes. But you need a tri-lane. You need a tri-lane to make up for that. Blaze is okay on his own. Garrosh cannot solo whatsoever, and the tri-lane is essentially non-existing here. Dahaka can single-handedly out-macro this entire team by himself if Swab plays it cleanly. This is bold, to say the least here, J-How. But in blue is going to be LFM Esports, where we had Swabs on Dahaka, Draded on that Tracer, Figgy playing the Tyrael. You know, you got Aware on Malfurion. Last up there, T on that Li Ming.
On the right side, in red, Simplicity trying to get the comeback here. And that will be Prismaticism on Blaze. King Caffeine on Garrosh. K1 Pro one more time on Stukov. Cassia being played by Hosty. And Zuna, he's looking to bring the boom on Uther, a.k.a. Uther.
One of the things that is very, very possible for LFM, but I don't necessarily consider them a team that would maybe be at the forefront of kind of innovating with this, is their laning setup, because of the kind of demand or, you know, lack of tri-lane again that exists on the side of Simplicity. Cassie is okay, but it's not nearly as threatening as some of the other options, and mainly siege capabilities. It's not going to be as impactful. And because of that, I would really like to see them run a 2-1-2. It's one of the few moments that you can make that happen. But if your siege is too good on the opponent's side, which again, that's my kind of criticism with it. Oh wait, Aware getting caught out. Hammer Just is there to get the follow-up. Not enough to survive. First blood now here over to Simplicity. As some Simplicity is going to constantly keep doing. And that's what I was saying with the 2-1-2.
Literally just going to walk in.
Yeah, and they need to essentially kind of force these fights because they don't have a tri-lane. It's going to be a standard 1-4, even though they're running a double support. Normally, that's not a very good approach unless you run, you know, the old school Ariel kind of holy trinity. But without the 2-1-2 here for LFM, it's going to be kind of stopping the bleed with the rotations temporarily. Ideally, somebody more like the Tracer probably going to sit in that lane. Other than that, Tyrael.
Well, here for Simplicity, this is something that they'll do, is they'll take a camp and then they'll look to go in. Blaze has already started to feign coming down because Dahaka isn't showing Zuna.
If they kill Zuna, he's got heals afterwards. It's not like that's a free fight,
Well,
but wait a minute with that drag.
There's the blind there. Hosty getting the blind. Draded trying to go in and confirm with the melee. I don't think he's got a recall available. Trying to get the
K1.
heals.
He's just waiting for the right lurking arm moment. Here it is. Oh, decides to pull back. Not going to commit. Jet propulsion actually warned by Dahaka gives LFM the camp. Figgy goes in. Going to get a lot of healing there, though, out from Simplicity. Nice use of the Stukov.
You know what Hosty was saying in there? Figgy, 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 you can't see.
There has been so much hip-hop references that everyone at home is so confused about.
Wait, what? Don't know what you're talking about. Either way, I mean, I was really surprised, Dredd, to see LFM be the aggressors there. I mean, this is not the composition I expected. Obviously, they tried to use that global, but Simplicity recognized that. Had Prismat start to rotate down, he was halfway between the top and mid lane. Obviously, Swabs has the global. He was there first, but you were able to get Prismat back into that.
They were able to, and I feel like a lot of that, even though K1 didn't really make too much happen after the commitment to that first kill onto the Uther, wasn't necessary. And then, you know, setting up for that big play afterwards. Great job with the also use of the passive over that skirmish time proper. 14 seconds out from the altars. What are we going to see positionally? Normally, you'd say, you know, global advantage over to LFM. Probable for them to assume 2 of these. Especially with that Sapper control on top. Stukov. Kick off the channel down below. Figgy moving out. Will he get it? Got the stall. Follow up on Eldruin. Drayden moves in. Force the recall. Big root from Aware. He's going to be able to lock down 2 members of Simplicity. Not enough for a kill, but should be enough to zone off. Uther now joining in. Full 4 versus 4.
Zuna going in, trying to get the interrupt. Wave of Light just happens to hit. Now they're going to try and return damage, but the lurking arm goes down. All those minions are giving chase as well through that choke. Those act as deterrents towards Li Ming's skill shots for what it's worth.
Figgy gets flipped over. Damage is there. Post bomb goes in onto Zuna, but you know, he's got enough healing. Even the Tyrael passive is not going to be able to make it through that 15% damage reduction. A lot of heals coming out from Aware there to make sure the team's all right, but good punishment from Simplicity. Bold move to send Blaze to be the solo clear for mid and bottom that entirety of that time. Even after the shots, never showed any transition down to the objective. Normally, you'd be like, oh, that makes sense. You're looking for macro advantage here and there. You're going to be able to make that happen, but with a double support, you normally can't get away with that. Yes, you can poke and prod all you want, but with the all-in initiations that LFM have and the explosive fight between Pulse Bomb resets on Li Ming, it should be one of those situations where that doesn't gain that much value. But because of that punishment, sticking around, getting the flip onto Figgy, Simplicity find themselves a full level ahead.
Deservedly so, as we see now at the bottom. K1 Pro gonna have his lurking arm down, allow his team to come in, clear out the sappers, which are always so threatening. Those do get silenced if they do get close to the wall and that lurking arm goes down, but just stop them midway through, and there's absolutely nothing that LFM can do to try and push that through. With that level advantage, you know, the next altar phase will be particularly interesting depending on how it spawns, but hold on a second.
Commitment on the K1, having Zuna on that Uther coming in. Dropping the armor, T flipped over. Good night, Li Ming.
Wow. I mean,
he will spawn 1 second before the objective. 10-second rotation time. 11-second stall is necessary here for LFM over this altar.
and they've got LFM has to find a way to start coming back in terms of experience, because that full level and the amount of kills that have come out, I mean, this is why Simplicity wanted this Battleground. This is why it was banned out by LFM in their previous series, and Simplicity feeling very strong so far. And this double support with the Uther, after what we saw in Volskaya with the flip taunt, you know, we had the polybomb kind of in response as well as the lurking arm. You're going to be getting hit with a giant Divine Storm. Maybe we'll see Divine Shield just because of Tracer. We'll see.
Vicky flipped over, full collapse. Swab's coming in with that brush talk. Where's the drag go? It's going to land there. Immediate cleanse onto Hosty, able to keep him alive. Now Figgy out a little bit too far. Nice healing coming out from Aware. Does he have the Eldruin? Kazuna's now moving up. Hammer of Justice not able to hit with the Groundbreaker on the back line. Drayden actually going into the 1v1 onto Hosty. Hosty keeps himself alive through that pulse bomb. But will he survive the Prismat? Blink, he survived. Oh, that jet propulsion was next level. Oh my, he kissed the corner in case you would have walked into that, and then if not, hit her versus that next blink escape. Prismat, please.
Big time taunt. You know, the score is 32-32, but I'm not feeling it, Dredd. I'm not feeling that score at all right now.
It feels Simplicity just upset that this has even made it this far in this series. They are ready to, you know, maybe break the curse of the 30-minute game.
I think it's past everybody's bedtime.
30 seconds out from this altar phase. It's going to be out of range for 10 on the side of LFM. They do have a Dahaka, maybe stalling around mid or bottom, holding that out as long as they best can, and then trying to force around that with the heroics. But it's going to be a very all-in, very transparent initiation. Not so transparent, though, is going to be that one. Calf flanking from behind, flipping over. And anytime that happens, there's about no chance you survive that.
See if they hold on to get 10 themselves. And by 10, I mean, if they can get that bottom bell tower and double channel, that would be 10 shots going over. They're not going to wait any longer. The threat of 10 for LFM. Don't want to buy too much time. They will move in. That's 8 shots going over, so 24 core health for LFM. Right now, Simplicity, 8 kills to 1. They are just manhandling LFM.
But heroics are here.
That's
a wild bunker appears.
That's one way to soak up those sappers.
When you got 40, you know, second cooldown there, it's not too big of a trade-off. Excuse me. Initiation here. Figgy moving forward. Swab trying to get the passive out of those shrubs. Maybe look for a drag. King Caffeine, though, wasn't having that. They're going to turn this around. Figgy has Eldrun. Zuna moves up. Hammer of Justice. Zuna's a little out of position there, but no capitalization.
He's just like, you know what, it doesn't matter, I'm going in. He's dropping hammers, he's dropping bombs. Figgy, he's trying to make his way out, but King Caffeine, that is a nice wave of force used to buy a little bit of space, or maybe it was just the blink. It looked like the wave of force. There's a sapper being tossed through by King Caffeine.
Stop this. Groundbreaker, not even needed, just walk in, flip taunt. Figgy, almost 100-0, gets the sanctification. Root comes out. It's one of those moments where you got to ask yourself, is it worth the sanctification? 90 seconds away, 30 seconds away from what is the next map objective, and you know that's something they want on their side. No holy ground opportunities. 13's long while out. See what Simplicity makes happen here.
They're going to hope, because obviously being split on both sides of the battleground, just zoning out, maybe setting something up off of an aware drag. This is an interesting approach for Simplicity. They're willing to have the trade, and the entire time they're just kind of hiding.
That's biting off more than they can chew, but not giving enough information for that to be known for sure on the side of LFM.
It's weird because normally you're like, all right, you know, we're just going to hold down here in the bot lane. We can threat, keep them handcuffed here. But then you also have the, well, we can pretty much guarantee one shot because we can just have Garrosh toss somebody in.
Tosses Zuna in. Taunt lands onto Tyrael. No sanctification for another 37. Going to get stuck into that root, though, from K1. Flip back over. Pulse Bomb goes down, but Tyrael's already dead. As Twilight Dream even interrupted, thanks to that flip from Cap. Massive shove. Sapper number 1. Going to be met with a Treant. Battle of the Ages there as they fall lower and lower. Traded. Flipped. Not far enough out.
Head into the fray, I believe, was on cooldown because he did toss Zuna in, so that will make its way through. Root's just going to land there onto Zuna, getting a free stack in that regard. 13 almost here by LFM, but Simplicity, Dread, have just held them in this bottom lane so much. And there's going to be more sappers of a threat. Li Ming, though, got to be careful. I think just got knocked back by a wave of force.
Prismat, where's the bunker come out? Nice. In case you're wondering why is Drade sitting on the other side there to try and block that jet propulsion so they can't get the full escape. Too risky of HP, though. Has to get the retreat. 3 sappers move up. Does Cap want to use that into the fray on any of these? Figgy's doing his best, trying to zone off. K1 with that lurking arm. All 3 shots make it in. 15 remain.
This is enough. If they actually capture all 3, it's game. I mean, I'm not saying it's likely, but it could definitely happen the way this game's been going.
Something you never say on towers, it feels like this early on. 11 minutes in, you're like, yeah, no, this is lethal range. Blaze gets 1. Nobody can interrupt a Haka, so it's not game yet. K1 not even a gate bottom. 5 shots consumed. 10 now remain on the HP of LFM. Swaps, comes in. Massive shove pushes him immediately away. Aware in a bad spot, having to use the ice block. There goes K1 with the knockup and the lurking arm. Jet propulsion and a bit of miscommunication, but Aware out of position. Makes it all the way back to the sanctification until he goes down.
He goes down, the bunker's keeping everybody alive. Prismat being tossed in there into the fray. Figgy into the death, and as well as T. He's trapped. He can't path any bit closer. Do we have the jet stream coming in here?
Hang the wrist, boys. 5 more shots rain down over the core of LFM.
One sapper and a boss. See if they make it happen. If not, you can...
Honestly, they just need the into the fray sapper. Like, they don't even need a, risky one. Into the fray.
You can de-shield somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, sometimes we'll see teams do that to where they'll send something bottom, then go get the boss, but that's actually how you give up bot lane control. And this time you can just kind of hang there. I mean, this has worked so far. They're 26-5. You get that one across, as you said. You get one across next.
Aware.
Just kill them all in the meantime.
Gets toss flipped. No ability to control his hero, and he is dead here before he can get off that Twilight Dream.
Literally, one goes across. You get 1-2 seconds of channel on the altar, and then you just de-shield. And the fact that you have not been able to penetrate this bot lane if you're LFM.
3 shots in. 2 remain on the HP of LFM. Down 2 members for another 30 seconds. When's the boss call? That's the question here. Is there the boss call? Turns out not.
It seems like it's almost in the bag at this point. I mean, again, not being able to reclaim control of that bottom lane. Is that a... Okay. So there's no way that's a Dahaka coming.
Cap's just sitting next to that wall.
Maybe they just escort
like, anybody
these
want to
in.
dance?
He's literally walking out there.
I mean, that's called passive value there. Flip taunt. Twilight Dream gets off. Ends up hitting 2. No kill achieved yet. T looking for those resets.
Yeah, but somebody's got to get to that altar. I don't know. Did Swabs use his global to get down here? Because that altar is about to spawn, and all they need is one channel.
We'll find out. 5 seconds away from the channel. Got to get past this bell tower. Swabs gets flipped over. Uses the passive. None of the sappers ended up making it into core. Draded trying to get all the blinks around. They know they're going to try and get this channel.
All they got to do is get on there and de-shield.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter.
Juna's going to make his way down. He's not going to commit to it. K1 Pro starts it. There it is. That's game. GG. As the shots go over, Simplicity holds on to this series and ends up taking the win over LFM.
Well, we had quite the series. And then an absolute dominant performance by Simplicity in Game 5.
Yeah, how does that happen to that level? Mainly, take what you just witnessed, ladies and gentlemen, and then I ask, bring back Infernal Shrines, start it halfway through the game, and then ask yourself, like, that version of Simplicity versus what you just saw. Consistency is just all over the place.
If you can get that, that was like the major talking point that I've had for Simplicity for so long. If they put it together for a full series and they look like that,
you just go, yeah, they're one of the best in NA.
But then you watch the other games and you're like, is this the same team?
I don't know. I can tell you without a doubt, my first question is, no matter who ends up on the mic on the other side for Simplicity, what was going through the minds on that Infernal Shrines game? Like, how did we end up here? Because that was a lot of craziness there. Other than that, though, I mean, LFM, they came out today. I feel like they played still very well. You know, obviously they labeled that as their kind of must-win, and it surely kind of makes it very, very difficult now for them to find their way out of that crucible after falling now to Simplicity, which, by the way, is still playing with that substitute. Prismat is not a main part of this roster, at least not yet, or at least, you know, they haven't confirmed whoever that 5th is fully going to be. And, you know, he performed pretty well, especially in that last game. Prismaticism on the Blaze, you know, that confidence on that first rotation, or more the lack of.
I mean, the fact that you're coming in on short notice as well. I think, obviously, there were some hit or miss moments, as with anybody coming into a new team, being a new face, and then also moving over to the melee role. Again, Prismat's one of the most experienced people I think we have coming up from the Open Division in terms of competitive play, and that what we've seen from him, whether it's roles, whether it's been a ranged carry, whether it's been more of a specialist, whether it's been more the melee, he's played a little bit of it all. So filling in pretty admirably, I'd say. Obviously, if he has more time, depending on... The jet propulsion was pretty clutch.
Oh, that was dirty. It was one of the best jet propulsions I think I've ever seen, honestly. It's just because jet propulsion functions in that kind of unique manner, and if you can kind of get it around the corner, right, it will hit the first initial like point of contact, but it's not like it's going to stop there, and then it goes, oh, you know what, my trajectory is actually supposed to be this way, and that's what he did around that corner. If Tracer stuck in the corner, would have gotten the stun, versus, you know, one blink out gets the second one, and it's that kind of stuff that you go, oh yeah, you know, this guy used to be, you know, he's competed internationally. It makes a lot of sense that he's got those kind of plays here for the team, but he wasn't the only one. A lot of the members, I feel like, here for Simplicity really stood out. I mean, K1 still holding his own, man. For me, it's Hosty when it comes to the damage dealers, because it feels like he has really kind of put a lot on his shoulders, especially in that Cassia game. I was like, you know, how effective is it going to be? Really put out a lot of DPS, sitting far and above the rest of his team, over double the rest of the squad.
I will stay. I'll just go back to the first one, K1 Pro. I mean, every single week. Just to, again, the simple fact that this guy has been one of the best range assassins for a very long time, and most flexible as well.
He's been statistically like an outlier within that role too. Like when we used to talk about like C moving, right? It's like, oh, he's good and he's great within that, or like SC, and you're like, but no, like the numbers say this guy is 10 to 15% better than everyone else next to him. He's done that within the range role that entire time.
And now your support.
And
I mean, that's not bad. And the fact that he's as effective as he is, I believe, like I said, in terms of like the percentage amount of kills that he gets for his team, he ranks #1 among supports in North America. So he's a very active, a very proactive support to contribute a lot to this team. So again, the numbers not only stacked up a little bit on the range side, they're also stacking up here on the support side. It's just such a major component. I mean, you could say King Caffeine all the time because he's been around. He's always been that warrior player on that front side. But when you have that synergy between the two, especially now that you're adding Garrosh in the mix, the amount of Stukov play that we're seeing coming in, it's like, dare I say Lili, but everything else around that, just it's meshing well together when it looks good.
Yeah, and you know, I feel like you're talking about Calf, you know, I feel like when you look at the original kind of, you know, Cloud9 roster, King Caffeine was far and above one of the best warriors that stood within North America, if not the best, maybe even the world at that point in time, right? And proving it so by winning that world championship. But then it did feel like there was a moment where a lot of fall off, I feel like, kind of came from his play. You know, we have the, I would argue, kind of like missing mosh pit era where things get a little bit wild, you kind of second guess, but it does feel like at the beginning of 2018 onward, especially with Garrosh being introduced, he's kind of found a little bit more of a home. You know, it's working well with the squad, but his play, you know, I guess I look at it and I go, that's what I expect from him. But now thinking about how many plays, like that last game, I just almost single-handedly Calf at least starting every great moment for them. So
it's just rock steady on that front side. It's weird because, as you said, when you expect that,
yeah,
it doesn't, the standout plays don't normally stand out as much. It's kind of like when you get that, hey, fresh space going in there, but old God still reigns supreme today.
The old God still reigns supreme. And, you know, we brought one of them with us here as we have the winner's interview with Hosty. Hosty, my goodness here. He might not be prepared. I might have pulled the trigger too early there. Hosty, are you alive?
Yeah, what's up, Dred?
You know, I've just got to ask, man. I got to get mentality-wise, thought process-wise through the whole series, especially Infernal Shrines game. Got a lot of questions going on here. What was the comms like?
The Infernal Shrines game, we were actually... Okay, so we started off really, really confident. We know that draft. We play it really well, usually. But towards the end, there was a few slip-ups, and it really threw us off. We started off losing the first map, and we didn't expect that, so we were a little bit rattled. And
Okay.
it took some time for us to just get confident again, and that's all it was. It was just nerves.
Do you
We
feel
were
like
rattled.
game number 5 maybe is a better representation of the, you know, simplicity in their comfort zone?
I'd love to say yes. Although, if I'm being perfectly honest, I do think that was just a hard outdraft. But we did play really well. Like, all of us stepped up. Calf made some insane plays. Like, so many picks. That was a crazy game. Calf just went off.
He really did. He's starting very early on. Once you guys got control of that bottom bell tower, it didn't seem like there was kind of much to make happen from that point on. But just generally speaking, though, it does feel like, you know, consistency, at least from me and Jay Howe's perspective, when you look at the moments of Infernal Shrines versus the entirety of that Towers of Doom game, it feels like it is kind of night and day. You know, do you guys maybe feel the same? And if so, what steps are you guys kind of taking to maybe kind of enforce more consistency in your performance?
So I would attribute that to 100% a confidence thing.
Okay.
Infernal just came down to we were rattled, and you could see it in our play. And the last map on Towers of Doom, we were 100% confident. We knew we were going to win. There was no doubt in our minds, and that's what we did. We executed. So it really comes down to, with what happened with our team, we have one more player right now, so we're trying to figure out who that is exactly. Um, Prism stepped up and he played great, but still having one man down that we're not fully comfortable with, it affects us.
Yeah,
It's not.
absolutely. I mean, I try and say this whenever we do have a sub. You're losing 20% of the team, but it feels like it's so much more with that. And yeah, Prismat really did step up for you guys. Congratulations once more. And I'm going to send you over to J-How here.
Thank you.
Hosty, all right. Is it you guys or Heroes Hearth? Who's to blame for the Lili with the Medivh?
Okay, so as soon as Lili got reworked, I wanted to try that out because first of all, double support was the meta back then, and I love Lili. Like I've played Lili before in other matches. I'm pretty sure I played it on LAN. So I was like, this looks pretty good. Let's try out Lili. We had good success with it, and then the Malf Stukov thing happened. So we were like, okay, well, there's no other support. Well, let's just play Malf Stukov, and we forgot about Lili. And then Lili came back and bit us from behind, and we were like, oh, that's a hero.
That is a
So
hero. Were you
yeah.
surprised that you got the Medivh in that game? Because we're sitting here right now before the Medivh nerfs and knowing how effective, how strong, you being one of the best Medivh players that we have, were you surprised that that actually made it through the draft?
I don't. I want to say like, what were they thinking giving me Medivh? But at the same time, it's not like I'm a Psalm or Glau Medivh, far from ADRD. So I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to see if they could beat us with me on Medivh, and it turned out it was a close game. So I'm happy they gave it to me.
All right, draft-wise, you guys said that you feel like you outdrafted in that last game, but looking at the games that you guys won, it was with a Kerrigan, it was with a Lili and Medivh, and then the last game was with a double support Uther. Is this a new thing?
I mean, we're like Dredd said, we're missing 20% right now, so we're in the stages of rebuilding. That being like what goes along with that is learning drafts again. What works with our team and just trying different things out. Phase 2 is here now, and we do want to win. We want to get the W's, but most importantly, we want to keep growing and we want to get ready for those playoffs.
Well, you guys obviously got off to a good start today. I wish you the best of luck in the future. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, J-How.
Hosty, with so much kind of coming down to the note of confidence, the fact that we have you guys up against Tempo Storm next, I'm just going to ask, number one, do you feel like you kind of have that confidence? Obviously, that's got to be pretty difficult with the kind of substitute situation. And number two, maybe if you have any insight on what you guys intend to do with the sub. I know this might be a bit early, but figured I'd go ahead and throw it out there.
Well, with the sub, what we were doing, we picked the most, in our opinion, qualified person to go into this because there was no time for practice, really. We had maybe 3 scrim blocks total before our first match. So we just went with the most prepared person. He wasn't even, Priz isn't even a main off role.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's just his game sense. He has really good game sense. So we were impressed with him, and we still have to talk as a team together. But we do intend to use a few days to get our tryouts and make sure that we're making the right choice for our team.
Well, it's awesome to hear that kind of, thought and calculation to you guys rebuilding, regrowing as a unit. And congratulations once again for the victory here that you got over LFM. The floor is yours, man. Any shout outs?
Thank you. Shout outs to my team, man. It was a rough series. LFM played really well, so shout outs to them. Shout outs to my best friend Yitzo. A lot of people out there know him. And shout outs to my stream. You guys could find me at twitch.tv/ihosty. And yeah, keep it simple. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Hosey. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have concluded North America week number 1, part 10 games. Yeah, 10